Most people were in great shape less than 100 years ago, and every year since then, we've gained more and more weight. Back in the mid-1900s, there weren't many popular diet plans. There were very few fat loss supplements, and most people didn't even go to the gym. Yet, people were able to maintain a healthy weight far better than we can now. And that's despite the fact that today, we've identified obesity as an epidemic. We now have dietitians, trainers, and doctors all working harder than ever to find a so-called cure for obesity. Yet, as we search for the cure, the glaringly obvious reason why people find it harder and harder to lose weight and maintain a healthy weight is simply because we're eating more than ever. So while we all search for a revolutionary, new age breakthrough solution, the fact of the matter remains that people just a century ago were simply eating significantly less. And when I say less, I mean less calories, not less food. Today, people are eating less real food, yet we're taking in way more calories, and we're still hungrier than ever. This is due to the fact that we now have so many more calorically dense, high-sugar, high-fat, processed junk foods in our food supply. When you eat these high-calorie foods that don't fill you up, you tend to eat more of them, which drives up your calorie count even further, creating a vicious cycle. Now, let's be realistic. We're not going back to the 1960s. You're also not going to magically forget the taste of Hot Pockets, Sour Patch Kids, or ice cream. And stores aren't going to stop selling these processed foods. They're all here to stay. But with that said, there is one very powerful tip that can help you eat far fewer calories without constantly restricting yourself or fighting cravings. And this ultimately makes losing weight and burning fat much easier and much more sustainable. I'm talking about a meal planning strategy known as preloading. You see, no matter what you do, you're going to experience spikes of hunger every single day. This is simply your body telling you that it's time to eat. This isn't going to happen once in a while or only while you're dieting. Hunger is something we have to deal with for the rest of our lives. It's not going away. And the way you deal with your hunger will drastically impact how hard or how easy it is for you to lose weight and maintain that weight loss. If you constantly work against that feeling, you may be successful for a little while. But according to the evidence, you'll more than likely not be able to restrict and willpower your way through hunger for the long run. So that's where preloading comes into play. Preloading gives us a non-restrictive way to eat more low-calorie whole foods, like people did in the past, when more people were lean. And it helps you naturally avoid the calorically dense processed foods that are making us all fatter. So, how does preloading work? Well, it's simple. You just consume certain filling whole foods or beverages before you eat whatever it is that you're craving. Surprisingly, by eating more real food first, you end up taking in fewer calories overall. There are many foods that you can use to preload your meals with, but I've narrowed it down to 5 of the best categories: vegetables, protein, high-fiber carbohydrates, soup, and water. Now, I'm going to dive into each one of these in greater depth. But first, I know many of you are probably going to overlook this tip entirely and go right back to counting calories or avoiding carbs because you don't realize just how powerful this strategy really is. So, to illustrate how powerful preloading can be, I want you to think about the opposite approach. Let's say every time you get hungry, you eat whatever you're craving first, and then you try to eat a healthy meal afterward. So you wake up in the morning craving something sweet. The first thing you do is eat a box of cookies, followed by your healthy meal. Then later at lunch, you get hungry again, so you order a pie of pizza. You eat 3 slices, and by the time you try to move on to your healthy salad, you don't really want it anymore because you're already full from the pizza. Then for dinner, you're hungry again, and you go straight for the ice cream. You eat so much ice cream that you completely spoil your dinner. Imagine how many extra calories you'd be eating every single day if, every time you got hungry, you satisfied that hunger with your deepest, darkest cravings. Now, on the flip side, imagine if you preloaded every meal with 1 or 2 cups of vegetables first. You'd fill your stomach up for almost no calories, and this would drastically reduce your hunger before you even start eating whatever it is you think you're craving. And the reason why I say think you're craving it is because most cravings are directly tied to appetite. That's right. When you're hungry, that's when you start craving all that junk food. But as soon as you fully fill your stomach and start feeling really stuffed, those same cravings can quickly become repulsive to even think about. So for that reason, vegetables are one of the best foods to preload your meals with because they're very filling, but not at all calorically dense. Broccoli, cauliflower, spinach, celery, cucumbers, and kale are just a few examples of vegetables that are very filling while costing very few calories. The problem is that many people don't like the taste of vegetables. And aside from getting better at cooking and seasoning them, the best way to ensure that you consistently fill your stomach with vegetables is by eating them first while you're actually hungry. When you're hungry, even bland foods taste much better. So even if you don't normally like vegetables, if you simply let yourself get hungry first, you'll be surprised at how easily those vegetables go down. On the other hand, if you snack on junk food while waiting for your vegetables to heat up in the microwave, you're probably not going to eat many vegetables at all. This is not only because you won't be as hungry, but also because the stimulation that broccoli provides for your taste buds and brain will never match the stimulation you get from high-sugar, high-fat processed foods, making the broccoli far less appetizing than it would have been if you had eaten it first. Now, by preloading with protein, you get a very similar effect. First of all, protein is extremely filling and very effective at decreasing appetite. This is because protein increases certain satiety hormones like GLP-1, CCK, and PYY. At the same time, it decreases a hunger hormone known as ghrelin. On top of that, protein requires a lot of energy to digest, meaning you'll burn anywhere from 15 to 30% of the calories that the protein source provides just by digesting it. Great sources of protein to preload your meals with include salmon, eggs, tofu, chicken breast, and turkey, just to name a few. And keep in mind, preloading isn't just a great strategy for your daily meals. It's also incredibly effective when you know you're about to eat out. For example, before going to a birthday party where you know if there'll be cake and other calorically dense foods, you can preload with vegetables and protein beforehand. Along with vegetables and protein, you can also add high-fiber carbohydrates. Carbs like oatmeal, buckwheat, sweet potatoes, and even plain popcorn are not the carbs you should be afraid of. Carbohydrates that are high in soluble fiber have been shown in multiple studies to help fill the stomach and decrease appetite and hunger. This is because soluble fiber absorbs water, causing it to take up more space in your stomach. It also passes through your digestive system slowly, helping you stay full for longer. Water itself, even though it's just a beverage, is another excellent option to preload with. Having a few glasses of water before a meal can help fill your stomach up, causing you to eat fewer calories. Calorie-free drinks like seltzer water, tea, and coffee can also help in a similar way. But one thing I should mention is that liquids alone pass through your digestive system pretty quickly. So even though preloading with water can temporarily lower appetite and help you eat less, water alone won't keep you full for very long. That's why it's best to combine water with something like vegetables or protein. And that's exactly why soup is one of the best foods to preload your meals with. A healthy soup that's effective for fat loss will usually contain 3 main ingredients: protein, vegetables, and water. Of course, you can add seasonings like garlic, onion, and spices to make it taste great. But the protein, vegetables, and water are what makes soup such an effective preloading tool for effortlessly lowering calorie intake. Some great examples include lentil soup, chicken soup, turkey chili soup, cabbage soup, and vegetable-packed tomato soup. So, the bottom line is this. By preloading your meals with more soup, water, vegetables, protein, and high-fiber carbs, you'll naturally decrease hunger and make it much easier to eat less of the fattening foods that you might crave. Obviously, the more you preload, the fewer cravings you'll have afterward. But even having just one bowl of broccoli before eating something like ice cream can help you save hundreds of calories. Or, after feeling full from the broccoli, you may decide to skip the ice cream entirely. I hope you understand just how powerful that really is. Now, one last thing I want to mention is that this strategy works extremely well when combined with fasting. You absolutely do not need to fast for this to be effective. But one of the biggest downfalls of fasting is hunger. By the time you finally eat, you're usually starving. If you immediately start eating whatever you want after breaking your fast, there's a very good chance you'll eat more calories than you burned while fasting. So, preloading to reduce that hunger before your first meal can work wonders if you're following a fasting plan. That about wraps it up, guys. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe and click the bell icon for more videos like this. Again, this is Smart Health Ideas, and I'll see you in the next video.